What is up, your large back here, and the Western and Eastern Conference Finals in the playoffs have now been determined. Nashville, unfortunately, just losing barely, just by a little bit, 5-0, because their entire team just let Pekka Rinne hang out to dry, which is totally not what happened in the first series against Anaheim. But anyways, because I like hockey, I'm going to be taking some time out of my day to talk about the Eastern and Western Conference Finals. This will be a somewhat semi-predictions video where I talk about who I think is going to win and who I think has the best chance of winning, and explain some of my decisions as well. So, without further ado, let's get on to our first series. On to our Western Conference matchup, the St. Louis Blues going up against the San Jose Sharks. What about that? 2 blowouts in Game 7s for the Blues and the Sharks. The Blues taking over the Dallas Stars 6-1 in their Game 7, and the Predators dropping a lot of goals in Game 7 to the San Jose Sharks, which provides us with a very controlled and a very offensive and defensive series. Now, the Blues, they are one of the best shutdown games in the league I've ever seen. They are playing so well in the back end right now. They're a strong, mobile team, and you notice the defense. You notice how Pietrangelo, Shattenkirk, Parayko, all those guys get involved into the play, and their shutdown game is crisp and pristine, and it's a game that you notice, and it's a game that's definitely going to contrast with the San Jose Sharks. Their offensive firepower, Thornton, Pavelski, Couture, Burns, fantastic. It's an old group of guys that's been together for quite some time, so it's an experienced group that knows how to come together to succeed. And really, the Sharks haven't been in the finals ever. The last time they've been in the Western Conference Finals, they lost in 5 games to the Vancouver Canucks. This was 2011. But this is a much different team. This is a team where you've got the fantastic offensive defenseman in Brent Burns, who's leading you through series. Just look at the Nashville series. You got Logan Couture, who's providing some stable offense, and then you got the guys like Thornton, Marleau, Pavelski, who all still have no signs of slowing down whatsoever, even when some of them are, let's say, 35 and 36 years old. You have a team that's so offensively strong, and you put them up against the Blues, who are so defensively strong. It's going to be a good series to watch, and it's going to be hard to pick a winner. Really, I'm still sitting here thinking about this series and who will win in my mind. I almost feel bad for both of these teams in a sense. The Blues, they haven't won a cup yet. They're the oldest team to not win a cup, and they haven't been to the cup final in a very long time. The Sharks, they've never gotten past the third round, and in their, 20-something years of existence, they have never gotten to the finals, which is disappointing, but it's definitely going to change. Eventually, the question is that going to be this year? Because this is a strong offensive team, and they're going up against a very strong defensive team. And I could just say, oh yeah, well, defense wins championships, so St. Louis is going to win this, but it's really not that simple. But really, when I think about it, I think about the speed of both of these teams. I think about the goaltending, because St. Louis definitely does have the goaltending, and I could definitely see both of these teams making it into the finals, but if I had to choose one, right now it would be St. Louis, because St. Louis has a much better defensive game than the Sharks do, and St. Louis, we know that we can match St. Louis against teams with very high offensive firepower. You look at what St. Louis has already done. They eliminated the Chicago Blackhawks in 7. Then they went on, they eliminated the Dallas Stars in a blowout, 6-1. You could argue that, well, the Stars, they didn't have Sagan, but still, it's the Stars. You got Jamie Benn, Sharp, Spezza, Klingberg, all on one team. They're an offensively powerful team. You could say that the Sharks, well, they beat the Kings in 5 games. No one expected the Kings to be out in 5 games, and really, you could say that. That's why I'm saying that both of these teams could very well make it into the final this year, but if I had to choose one, I'd say St. Louis in 7, with Brian Elliott stealing the show in a 1-0 overtime victory for Game 7. On to our Eastern Conference matchup, the Pittsburgh Penguins facing off against the Tampa Bay Lightning, Matt Murray going up against Nikita Kucherov, the two big saints on these two teams right now. And really, when I look at this series, I look at how the Pittsburgh Penguins have really just established themselves as a very hot team. When I look at the Lightning, I see a team that I don't want to belittle the Lightning and their success, but I believe that the Lightning have had a little bit of an easy trip to the Eastern Conference Finals. You look at the teams they played. They played Detroit, who is currently on a little bit of a decline, especially with the departure of Datsuk. Then they played the Islanders, who had a strong Game 1, but then dropped 4 straight to the Lightning. And not to the discredit of the Islanders, they had a fantastic series against Florida, especially with John Tavares coming in and stepping things up against Roberto Luongo. But the Lightning have kind of rolled their way into the Eastern Conference Finals, and I did say this a bit earlier, I don't know if it was on YouTube or not, but I believe that whoever would win the series between the Caps and the Pens would make the final and have a very good shot at winning the Cup. So there is a big reason why I do believe Pittsburgh will sweep the Lightning, and that is my prediction. I think Pittsburgh is going to take this one 4-0, if not 4-1, and the reason being is that Pittsburgh is hot right now. They toyed with the Rangers. 4-1 victory over a Rangers team. They absolutely dominated the Rangers. They were holding back against the Rangers. Then, second round comes in and they're playing Ovi, Backstrom, Kuznetsov, the best team in the regular season, Washington Capitals. And the Penguins, Nick Bonino, takes it all away from them in 6 games, with the Kessel, Hagelin, Bonino line accounting for all 4 goals in Game 6. Kessel with 2, Hagelin with 1, Bonino with the OT winner. That line has just come to life recently, and I don't think the success is going to stop there. Combined with this, you got Crosby, who is on a line with Sheary and Hornqvist, and really, if you have Sidney Crosby on a line, that's a pretty good darn line. The same thing goes with Malkin, who's playing with Kunitz, who's established himself already as an NHLer who can make offense, as well as Brian Rust. So the depth is strong in Pittsburgh, and I think the only thing that would be detrimental to them in this series is defense. And I know Letang's a good guy, I know Mata's really stepped it up, but when you look at the Penguins, if you had to find a flaw in their game, it would be the depth that they have on D. Although the D has served fairly well so far, especially against an offensively talented team like the Capitals in Washington, with the likes of Ovi, Backstrom, Kuznetsov, etc. Goaltending is definitely not an issue for the Penguins, but if Matt Murray does slow down and cool down a little bit, they still got Marc-Andre Fleury, the experienced vet, to get back in. But when you look at this series, you also have to take a look at the Lightning and what they have done to the Penguins. The Penguins have lost all the games to the Lightning this year, and if there is a team that would have the Penguins' number, I would have said Washington, but at this point, it currently could potentially be the Tampa Bay Lightning, although I do think, despite the great firepower they have on that triplets line, half of the team's goals coming from the triplets line, they still have a good goalie in Bishop, and really, I think that Tampa Bay cannot win this series. They should not. And the reason they should not is because they still have Stamkos under contract, and he is out for a while. If he wasn't injured, then things could be a bit different, but I feel that if the Lightning do make the finals, or they do win the Cup, then everyone's going to be like, oh, what if Stamkos was never injured? Then they would have not lost a game at all. And really, I know that Stamkos isn't going to be here in Tampa Bay next year, but there's a difference between that and now, because now they're still paying Stamkos. They still have that money on their cap. So next year when they don't have Stamkos, things will be a bit different because they'll have that cap to go out there and spend some more on other players. So really, they are handicapped in that respect with an injured $7 million player on their list. So which is why I don't believe that they should win the series, and I don't think that they can. I see a very Pittsburgh 2013-esque moment happening where the Pittsburgh Penguins beat the Islanders and the Senators in the first 2 rounds, then go on to lose 4-0 to Boston. I believe that that's going to happen to Tampa Bay because, not to discredit the Lightning and the division they're in, but I did say that their division was particularly weak in my eyes. Detroit played an okay game. The Islanders were an okay game. When I looked at Florida, Tampa Bay, Detroit, and New York, I only saw one team that could really make an impact in the finals, and that was Florida. But they did lose in the first round. So now it's all on Tampa Bay's shoulders to go up against the Penguins and just have a great series, because this is going to be a high firepower series, especially with that triplets line, and then you have the other set of triplets on the Penguins in Kessel, Hagelin, Bonino, not to mention Crosby and Malkin. This is going to be a great series to watch, but I think the Penguins will take it in 4 games. Now that we're in the finals, it's Pittsburgh versus St. Louis in my mind. Really, if I look at the 2 series that are going on in the Western and Eastern Conference Finals, I could see any one of those teams, except for Tampa Bay, actually winning the Cup. Because the Western teams have really stepped things up, and Pittsburgh, my goodness, just fantastic on there. But if it comes to the finals and it's a St. Louis versus Pittsburgh situation, I don't have an answer. I just watch, guys. Just watch the games. You're not going to get anyone on here who gets the right predictions, and really, this video is just an excuse for me to talk about hockey. But if it did come to a St. Louis versus Pittsburgh finals, I would say that I would pick the Penguins over the Blues. This would be the year that an Eastern Conference team finally wins the Cup for the first time since 2011. Oh no, wait, what happened in 2011? I totally forgot. It just stopped after Game 5, didn't it? But anyways, there's a few reasons why I believe that Pittsburgh could and will win the Cup this year. And it's because I was saying a bit earlier that whoever wins the Capitals versus Penguins series is going to the final, and they will have a very, very strong chance at winning. Depending on how Pittsburgh plays against Tampa Bay, I think that they could and will definitely win the Cup this year. And not to discredit the Blues, but I think that their time is just not yet. Even though it's been a very long, however many years they've been in the business. What was it, 1967, was it? I'm not sure, but the Blues, I hope that they win. I want them to win. I want them or the Sharks to win, because I want first-time teams to win. I want to see the teams who have never won before win the Cup this year, and then get all excited and run into their goalie at the very end of it, instead of the Chicago Blackhawks just skating into one end of the ice, just like they have for the past 6 years, 3 times in 6 years in Chicago. But, yeah, I think Pittsburgh is going to win, but I want San Jose or St. Louis, most preferably San Jose, because, they're older guys on there. I feel like they deserve it the most, especially Thornton and Marlowe. My goodness, they've been on that team for such a long time and have nothing but, 3rd round appearances to show for it. Really, that just wraps up the video. I know, very disappointing conclusion, because I didn't even explain myself, but I hope that Pittsburgh does not win it this year. I hope that the Sharks or the Blues do, because I want those first-time teams. Crosby, you guys have a good team as well, but I wouldn't be too upset if the Penguins won, because I am a Toronto fan too, so go Kessel, go. Really, that's the best that could ever happen. But, really, you know what? Us Toronto guys over here, just Pittsburgh, please lose, because we can have a lower, first-round pick. Really, I'm just rambling on at this point. San Jose versus St. Louis, I believe St. Louis is going to win. Pittsburgh versus Tampa, I believe Pittsburgh's going to win. And then the finals, I hope that whichever team comes out of the Western Conference is victorious, because I like those first-time teams, So, that will conclude the playoffs, because this was just a very intense series of games to watch for all of us. No one expected the Blackhawks to lose. No one expected the Kings to lose. No one expected the Ducks to lose. The only team that everyone really expected to win in the West actually won, and that was Dallas. They won 4-2, which was correct, because I predicted that they would win 4-2 over the Minnesota Wild, and they did. So dislikers on the playoff predictions video, don't dislike because I got everything wrong, because everyone's going to get things wrong. No one got the right playoff bracket this year. Everyone was eliminated after round 1, and that's insane. So, yeah, that wraps up everything over here. Whatever happens in these next 2 rounds, it's going to be fantastic. We're only halfway through the playoffs, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Plus, thanks for downloading, like, and also subscribe to Stanley Gaming, and bye.